My name is Jimmy Cozier, and I am the instructor of saxophone, clarinet, and flute at the Middle School Jazz Academy here at Jazz at Lincoln Center. And today I want to talk to you about the blues, its important role in jazz history, and how to approach it as an improviser. All right? So the blues, which started out as a vocal style, is really one of the major roots of jazz as we know it. It was very popular in the earliest days of jazz in New Orleans. Jazz moved to Chicago. Blues has always been a very important part. Now, we're going to talk about a blues on a 12-bar form. And that is something that got codified in the early part of the century, because at one point the blues were just totally improvised. And since it was a vocal tradition, people sang, and they sang until they felt like making a chordal change, right? But we're going to deal with the 12-bar form. And that form is something that you've heard quite a bit, because the blues, again, boogie-woogie piano style, the boogie-woogie style is something you've heard. You've heard it with big bands. It is the foundation of rhythm and blues and the foundation of rock and roll. So let me give you a little sample of what that sound I'm talking about is. This is a blues, and it's a blues that uses a dominant 7th chord, and we'll talk more about that. So I'm sure you've heard that before. That boogie-woogie sound, but also the sound that became rock and roll is from that form. And that sound is of the dominant 7th chord. The blues has major blues, we have minor blues. What we're going to talk about, though, the blues is a very peculiar style because it has elements of many things since it was vocal. And that we use a dominant and we think of it as our 1 chord in the blues, all right? So in this case, if we think of the C7 chord, C, E, G is our basic triad. C, E, G flat is our dominant. Now, normally we would have a major as our key, but in this sense we're looking at that dominant as our 1. So we need to associate that dominant chord with a scale. And the scale that we're going to associate that with, we think about that, C, E, G, B flat. It's going to be the key of F major, which has 1 flat, and the dominant comes from the 5th degree. Our dominant chord and what we're going to call our dominant scale. Another term for that could be the Mixolydian mode, all based on the 5th degree. So this dominant scale is something you already know. If you think of your F major scale, but our starting point is the 5th degree C. We get this. We're going to use that as our scale foundation. I'm going to play for you a little tune. It's called Skip 3 Blues that uses thirds, diatonic thirds on the scale, as the basis of a melody. Okay, so there's a melody entirely based on a scale pattern of thirds where we skip every other note. We can use that further for an improvisation. So this is just one basic approach to improvising on a blues using a simple scale pattern, the third, diatonic meaning just within the key, just using scale notes. And with that, we can do an improvisation, all right? So that's our first step in learning how to improvise on the blues.